Emily, great to see you. Thanks for hopping on today. How are we today?
Doing so good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I thought we might just dive straight into it. This session's all about you. So let's start from the top. Please introduce yourself, Emily, the title that you like to go by, and what it is exactly that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, I'm Emily. I'm also known as the Rich Witch Next Door. I am a spiritual business and life coach. I help women uncover and develop their spiritual gifts and turn them into a thriving business so that they can live their best life. That I do that all through mindset reprogramming and energetics, and also as a psychic medium. And if you hear little barks behind me, it's because I have two rescue pugs. They like to be a part of everything I do.
They follow you around like children. Totally understand. I'm not. I used to have rabbits that would do the same, so totally fine. No, really cool hearing about the influence, and it's obviously multifaceted to say the least. There's lots of different ways you go about, supporting women in this space. What inspired you to, I guess, start this business and kick it all off? If you want to go back to the early days, Emily.
Yeah, gosh, going back to the early days, for me, it was, I had really built my career in corporate. I climbed the corporate ladder very quickly here in the US. And I just was really sick of, working for someone else. And I wanted to build my own thing. I loved mentoring others. In 2019, I started down my personal development journey of like, okay, my life looks great on paper. Why am I so unhappy? This doesn't make sense. And then in 2020, of course, the pandemic hit, and that really put a spotlight on my mental health. I had my huge spiritual awakening, and it really allowed me to start growing my coaching business. I did not start as a spiritual coach, though. I had to reprogram my own limiting beliefs around people judging me, what success looks like, working for myself, like a whole plethora of things. And I did that through getting certified as a life and success coach and NLP and hypnosis and EFT tapping and all the fun buzzwords now. But back then they were not so known. And then developing my spiritual gifts. And I realized that I was going to so many different mentors and so many different coaches and programs to develop my craft, develop my business. And I really just wanted to create a safe place for women to be able to come and have all facets of it. Because I truly believe you need the mindset and you need the magic. You can't just have one or the other to have that, dream life that everyone so desires and craves. And so 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, I went full into Rich Witch land and have not looked back since.
Good. And I assume, of course, it's not just for women looking to make the same jump to you. Is this for a certain caliber of woman that you like to work with? Could you elaborate a bit more on who your ideal clients are?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. So I do typically, my clients have the desire to, work for themselves and have the financial freedom that comes with it, the time freedom, the ability to be present with their family and on adventures and all the different things. So the type of client that I'm working with typically is either already an entrepreneur or has had that deep burning desire for years and years, and they're actually just finally ready to, get rid of their excuses and finally actually do, the quote unquote scary thing and start, which then actually isn't that scary once we do.
It is, isn't it? I've been watching this children's movie. We've got a 2-year-old daughter, of course, and it's called Sing on Netflix at the moment. It's just, and the one line that gets me every time that I never heard of is, one of the characters is afraid to sing and get singing, and she's got an amazing voice, and the main character of the show on the side, like, just sing and all the fears will go away. Like, just start doing it and take that leap. So really cool. It's funny how the kids movies sometimes have the best hits.
Yes, they have the best messages that us adults need as well, for sure.
Need a reminder. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And I guess more so pivoting back to you specifically, Emily, what challenges, other than, of course, imposter syndrome, you've already subtly mentioned there, what other challenges have you faced building up to where you are today?
Yeah, I think for me, the challenges really stemmed. So I grew up the youngest of four in a Catholic household. And So a lot of the questions I get from people is, did I always know I was a psychic medium? That is part of my special secret sauce of helping women uncover their gifts, is I can actually tap into their gifts myself, which is really cool. But growing up in that way, it was always like, oh, well, that's like the devil's work or evil, or you're the youngest of four, so you're just being dramatic and none of it's real. And, it was a story that I created and I lived in for a lot of my life until my adult years, into my 30s, that, allowed me to kind of play that victim mentality and really hide my true self and my authentic self. And that was one of the biggest challenges for me, was to, actually tell my parents, like, hi, I'm going to go make a living talking to the dead. How do we feel? I don't think I said it as bluntly as that. Now I do. But I think what the really big thing about that challenge was that we create so much pressure and we put so much assumption out there, and really majority of it is not real and doesn't actually, never happens how you think it's going to. And so that challenge for me, though, was definitely the really big one, especially leaving a multi-six-figure corporate career. My parents were like, you are insane. Now, I mean, they're my biggest cheerleaders. I say this with love now, but they were like, what are we doing? I don't think you should do this. Don't do it. They're honestly my biggest supporters now, my biggest cheerleaders. They're even now calling me, asking me to like go pray to the moon or whatever it is when something bad happens, which I don't even do, but sure.
Yeah, like, sure, whatever helps you sleep, no worries, I'll do it.
Yeah, I was like, sure, I'll go pray to the moon, whatever.
Oh god, no, it's cool. And yeah, that imposter syndrome and taking the leap against family values can be so scary, especially from those more conservative family upbringings. So really cool that you did make the leap and bounce back, so to speak. What would you identify then, Emily, as your point of difference? What sets you apart from other spiritual coaches out there, others looking in this space directly at the moment?
Yeah, I would say my biggest point of differentiation is the approachable woo. I am not out here telling you to give up everything you own, go live in the forest, and like only commune with trees. Because I think that also is a misconception of what spiritual gifts and your spiritual exploration looks like. Now, that's great for some people, like go do you. But for me, I'm the rich witch next door for a reason, because I'm your spiritual bestie. It's the play on the girl next door. We can have literally our cake and eat it too. We can have all the abundance and riches. And it doesn't just mean rich witch, like as in money. It means like in relationships and in experiences, and like the whole world just opening up to you, which is a really huge differentiation that I haven't seen out there in the spiritual world yet. I'm sure there'll be a lot more of it, which I'm very excited about. I think the more approachability we can bring into spiritual businesses and spiritual gifts and coaching and the like is, beautiful. We need way more of it. And then the other differentiator for me is that I'm not just develop your spiritual gifts or build a business or do the mindset. It's really like a one-stop shop where we get to do all of those things, because I say to a lot of my clients right before they sign with me you have to figure out your own unique way and approach to your spiritual gifts. We can't cookie cutter this with other people, but you also have to develop and reprogram your mindset around it and really get that into a supportive place for yourself. Because otherwise you could develop your spiritual gifts and like be the best psychic medium or healer or astrologist, like all the different things. But if you haven't gotten your mindset right, then you're just a beautiful store with a constant close sign. And so you really have to have both of those. And that's also something that I don't see out in the spiritual development world right now. And it's definitely something if you can't tell, I'm super passionate about.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like I've only kind of reflecting on it in the last 12 months as I've been dealing with more and more spiritual coaches as well, is that there seems to still be such a friction for something that isn't even physical to an extent. Most of it is mental and internal and growing on, as an internal person. It's not going to learn to run a marathon, like something that you have to physically exert for. So yeah, I've always personally found that so confusing that there still is that misconception in the market. So I hope that the journey continues the way it's going.
Yeah, no, me too. And, it's so interesting too, just because, with social media, and one of the really great things about the pandemic is it opened up the coaching space to being literally anywhere in the world. So majority of my clients are actually in Australia, which is wild because obviously I'm in the US, right? But that wouldn't have been possible except for, there were some silver linings that happened with the pandemic, and that's certainly one of them. And where now it is becoming more mainstream, if you will. It's not as taboo to be doing your personal development or like going to a sound bath or a healer or things like that. I mean, there's still the stigma a bit, but it's really been amazing to see just the global collective shift into recognizing that energy is energy and it truly does exist. And how can we, be at our highest, potential and caliber? And that's going to have to be energetically as well as, physically and mentally and all the things.
So good. And yeah, so true. It's becoming so important to focus on, I guess, that core value of just seeing it as an energy above anything else. So thank you. It's interesting to hear about the Australian piece as well. I didn't know it was such a big pickup. I've definitely got friends in the spirituality space, but so obviously more down that path rather than anything psychic related or anything. So it's still obviously honing in on your skill set regardless, but very cool to see it growing locally too.
Yeah I know. I love all my Australia peeps.
Hopefully can hit some with that my side of the audience too then, but I guess you've already named a couple of these achievements with where you've got to today, but what would you name as maybe your largest achievement? It can be a client win, it could be financial, it could be anything. What would some of your biggest achievements be to date, Emily?
Yeah, gosh, I think for me, my biggest achievement, well, since, I just did a wrap up of last year, a couple that really come to mind is, when I set out to manifest, it is very easy for me because I'm my authentic self and I'm magnetic because of it. But what's really been a big win for me is that I was able to create and launch my spiritual coaching certification that helps women with the mindset piece, with the developing their gifts and that community. And then should they choose, building a business alongside of it. And I actually graduated my first cohort in December for it. So that was just a huge, obviously the time commitment of creating and building it in itself. But for me, the real win was actually having the cohort graduate and like seeing them. It's like they were a little caterpillar and now they're like beautiful butterflies, just making such an impact in the world. And it's like a pinch me moment, right? Like I can't even believe that I was the catalyst that got them to that point. If that makes sense. It's like I'm both so proud of myself and then so in awe that like this is happening. Because I definitely, if you had asked me when I first started coaching in 2020, I would have been like, no one would pay for this kind of thing. Like, absolutely not. And then obviously fast forward to now, and I'm like, no, this is so needed and it's so powerful. But I think the other thing that really popped in my head at the same time was being open to like what opportunities might flow in. And for me, also last year, actually October of 2023, I did my first Reiki infused sound bath. I had never done a sound bath before, but I just decided, spirit led, they were like, you need to start doing these. And I said, okay, let's try it. There were 5 people there. And by June, I was being flown to San Diego to do one in front of 150 people. And I've now been flown to multiple states. I'm featured in a major influencers app. And it's just from having that like desire for visibility and being open to like what that can look like in my business and not feeling like I can only do the one thing, right? It's like, let's see where the impact is needed and then go there.
Oh, it's incredible. And especially, I think the most common theme amongst the coaches I connect with most is just learning to go with that flow, whether it's a flow of energy, whether it's a direction from your clients, whether it's a spiritual guidance, but just learning to just take that, having your end goal in mind and then just seeing what direction you end up. Like, eventually you're going to get to that point you want to go to. It might not be linear, but it's learning to get that way. So it's really cool that seeing and hearing your spiritual take on it and realigns regardless. So really congratulations on the growth as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really wild. And honestly, you're exactly right with the go with the flow and listening to our clients at the end of the day, because I can try and anticipate what I think they're going to need, but ultimately they're going to tell me. And that's when it makes it so much more in flow and so much easier to not just try and build something I'm not passionate about, but something that's actually going to be impactful for them. Yeah.
Especially when you see some coaches out there that will just build a copy and paste model of here's how to do this. And I was like, but it's not going to, you will connect with some if that's their flow, but you're leaving so much on the table when you're not actually adapting to everyone, because everyone's different, and you can have that ripple effect that you mentioned with everyone, so many people, if you just learn to keep giving. So really cool. Thank you for sharing. I've got one to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Is there a line, is there a quote, is there an inspirational figure maybe that's helped get you to where you are today? Does any one line moment spring to mind?
I mean, gosh, there's like a few mentors of mine that I like love to pieces who I still work with. And there's a reason, because they're so amazing. But when you said a line, I was like, ooh, I do have one. Okay. Really, it is from Dr. Seuss. So you may be familiar with this, having a child, but it's the one of like, don't worry about what other people think, because those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. And I really, truly believe that. And I really embody that, because I don't need to allow what potentially might be a projection from someone else to influence my business, to influence me or my clients or anything, right? It's at the end of the day, we're all doing the best we can with what we have, and we all want everyone to be happy. And so if I go back to that every time, and I tell my clients the same thing, especially when there's that pesky fear of judgment, it's, honestly, even if someone were to say something that maybe doesn't feel like a nice thing, it still doesn't matter at the end of the day.
So good. And again, I haven't had a double up on a quote yet from any coach. So it goes to show just that you can draw inspiration from anything. And as we've already connected on some of the best from your childhood, some of the authors, some of the film directors, whatever it may be, like really do come up with some absolute gems that can just stick with you for life. So really cool that stuck with you. Where to next then? I don't know how far ahead you like to look personally, Emily. Maybe where the next 12 months, next 5 years, how far on the horizon have you looked ahead?
Oh, yes. Definitely in the 5 year, but I definitely this year have a lot of exciting things coming. Of course, my spiritual coaching certification will continue to grow and help so many, and I'm so excited to see who else transforms within it. But I also will be launching my own podcast, and then later this year in the back half, my own app. So I've got some fun stuff in the works that is going to be really just to help have an impact in an even bigger way. I'm always trying to figure out how I can give back and get my energy out there to help activate people. And it's going to be super, super exciting. And then in the 5 years, I mean, get ready for retreats, get ready for probably a book. And I'm probably going to be on TV or something. I don't even know. It's all happening.
100%. And look, not to sell anything short, but we can get you in the TV. We can get you wherever you need to be. It's no longer this far-fetched thing where you need to be a total A+ tier celebrity. We can, work to get you there. So I'm very excited for that as well. A bit of a change of pace for you. The Fast 5, as I mentioned, a little heads up. Let's dive into it. First thing that comes to mind, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Do it scared, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that the fears really, for me, kept me small and stuck for a really, really long time. And instead of just realizing it's scarier to stay comfortable, I would do it scared. I do it scared all the time. I'm doing stuff I've never done before, right? Like going in front of hundreds to my largest sound bath was 1,600 people. And wow. It's wild. And I don't always know what I'm doing, but I just am we're doing it scared, and we're just going to do the best we can. And I'm going to just show up as me and, take it or leave it. And that's all we can do. right?
So good. Number 2, your teenage celebrity crush. Who was the poster on the wall?
Oh my gosh, poster on the wall. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, I really liked Devon Sawa or Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Although that might have been when I was in grade school, but still.
I know the names. I'm terrible with like remembering the names to the face though. What show or what band were they in? What was their...
Oh my gosh, Devon Sawa was in the movie Casper.
Got it.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I don't even remember. He was just that heartthrob that was probably in like 20 different things. Who knows?
Yeah, Casper was one of my favorite movies growing up. So yeah, totally can
No wonder I picked up on him though, because I was, suppressing my mediumship, and there was
I kicked it off for you. They did a bit of Casper as a kid. Favorite podcast you listen to, other than the one you're about to launch, of course.
Well, yes. Right now I have 2 that I'm loving in my business, and actually one of them is a fellow Australia fave. It's Talk Spirit to Me, Jessica Lynn Mediumship. Okay. She's brilliant and hilarious, and I'm friends with her, and so I love always listening to her episodes. And then I love Glow Up to Blow Up. It is a business podcast. It's actually my business mentor. And it's funny, I hired her to be my mentor and coach, and I'd never listened to her podcast. And she actually went on maternity leave. And I started diving in, and I was like, this is so good, snackable business content that I'm shocked I haven't listened to it yet. So I've really been enjoying that one too. And then if it's not that, I'm listening to some type of thriller about a serial killer or something. You gotta also keep it like, how am I gonna keep myself entertained on a long car ride? And it's not always gonna be business and woo. It's sometimes I'm like, let us do the unsolved mysteries.
What's the one my wife's really into, or was at least? My Favorite Murder? Is that the big one?
I have not listened to that one, but I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Worth. I kind of got into it as well, because I was like, the way they kind of tell the narratives is really cool. The kind of input from listeners, etc. Really, really cool. So definitely add to the list if you haven't tried it yet. Yeah. Music genre. What gets you into the zone? Obviously, very different for spirituality versus maybe going to the gym. What's your kind of go-to?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely like I would call it like a cool, chill house music. Like I just love a nice little beat. We're getting it moving and grooving. That's how I usually do my walking meditations. Not right now. I'm in Chicago. It's freezing. I'm not doing those outside, but I do live right by Lake Michigan. So that's like my favorite, is get something going on that. If I'm in the gym though, it's still probably club music though. And I don't even go to clubs. I just really love their music.
That does get the tempo going, doesn't it? So it's a good beat for the session. Most important question of all: ketchup or barbecue sauce?
Ooh, gosh, that's really, it depends on what I'm eating, but I'm gonna go ketchup.
Ketchup. Cool. Mm-hmm. I'm the same. Well, you get more tomato sauce here. It's a finer consistency. But I
don't love it as much. I've been to Australia. I didn't love it as much.
It's definitely not the same. I can say that much. But I'm at least the same, and I would happily get rid of barbecue sauce. There's enough that we can replace it with. But thank you for going through all that. Where can readers, listeners, where can they connect with you? And I don't know if you've got the name of your podcast ready to go yet, but where can they start to tune into the future version of Emily?
Yeah, definitely on Instagram at The Rich Witch Next Door. My website is therichwitchnextdoor.com. Keep it super simple. You can find me either place. I'm always doing, different freebies, value adds, the podcast. So interesting you say that. I have not named it yet, but it'll be coming out in the next month or so. So people will know what it's called then. I have a list of 3 that I'm between right now, and I'm going to actually put it out to my audience to help me determine which one I'm going to go with. And it's going to be so fun. It's all going to be about energetics, manifestation. Who even knows? Whatever I feel called to talk about that day. I'll probably talk about how I grew up in a haunted house, the whole thing.
Can do it all. Yeah, start with your love of Casper and the actor,
and go from there.
100%. Thanks so much for your time. Really excited to piece this together, and look forward to keeping the track on your journey too, Emily. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.